Okay, now I see most of you have already gone through the slides, all right, for this activity. Maybe let's have a check. So try to see how the responses are being displayed on the screen and what we can discuss, all right, based on this activity. This is not an activity that's designed by me, and some of the slides are quite complicated actually. Okay, so however, it may demonstrate again some kind of modeling activities that can be done even in junior form, not necessarily in higher form. Okay, so it's just talk about the area and perimeters of a rectangle. Okay? So I go through again to have a quick check of the slides. Okay? So the first one, we just ask which one of these is the largest perimeter. And then the second one, just arrange it to find out which one is the greatest area. Okay? And now notice that the answer is also being captured and then displayed in the latest slide. If I jump to, let's say, I jump to this slide 6, okay, you see that you said that field C will have the greatest area. Can you see this slide? Okay, because in the slide 2, I make it this way. Okay, if I change it to, let's say, A, then I choose A. Or if I choose B, then I do B. But let's go to the slide again. It's not changed. There's no change. How about in your case? Is it reflected in the slide here?
No, actually.
No?
I choose B and I still see it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I guess that they will change it. I don't know why. Maybe this is the things I want to find out. Anyway, okay. So then maybe we just go to the students page directly to see it. This is the first page, all right? Now that is the teachers desktop, all right? So this very simple. We just know that all of you choose B. Okay, all of you choose B here, all right? With the largest perimeter, okay? But you think so? Do you really? Do you really think so? Right? And in the overlay, there's nothing special here. But I think the red one is the one you have chosen, perhaps.
Yes.
I guess. Okay? Because if you look at the student slide, you can compare. Okay, now these three are the same color. But in the two slides, then you can see a different color. How about, can anyone choose another one?
Yes.
To see how it works? Right? Then I refresh it to see how it works.
Okay.
Okay, I refresh it. All right, now the answer is now different. I want choose C, and let's see the overlay. Oh, nothing changed. Maybe they select the more common one, perhaps. I guess because sometimes they have a code behind it. Anyway. Right. So let's move on. Number 2, this is the ordering. Okay, so different ordering. So interesting. What's the overlay mean here? If I overlay it, okay. So what does it mean? Rectangle B. Can you guess?
6 students.
I think most of you choose rectangle B to be the greatest one. Okay? And then for the rectangle C, most of you put it in the middle one. Okay? Although 1 or 2 will be different. And the rectangle A, most of you think it's the smallest one. So that is also quite interesting display. All right? So the summary can be useful, right? The summary. Then now it shows that your choices are not really varies too much. Okay? But in the actual classroom, there may be some discussion. Right? So in case. So that is very useful, the overlay one, okay? Or this still see the individual. For example, this is one student's work. Okay, and the third one, now they remind you that actually the perimeters are the same, right? So what is the perimeter? All of you get the answer. Okay? But you can see the individual answers coming out from the student, and then you then know whether they can correctly calculate the perimeters or not. Right? So the next one is the area. So what's the greatest area? So once again, you all get the correct one, so there may be nothing, too much to discuss. Okay? And the summary here can also give you the a kind of result, okay? Overall accumulated result. I see that which numbers that you may produce. So someone already made a change, okay? And then it's very good that it's updated quite quickly. Right? You see that? So this one is quite interesting, right? So you have to make several triangles, okay? For example, this one. So you're asked to build a field with still with a perimeter of 50, right? But different area, right? So then is the part where you experience how the rectangle can vary, right? So that will also be very useful, but it's not easily done, okay? Bear in mind, this one cannot be easily created by the ordinary user, right? Because they will involve some coding behind, I believe, right? In order to make this so interactive. Right? So the student's page is like this. The student's page asks you to make it, right? 50, and then you have one example on capture. Now, but I will show you something similar later on in another task, because you can see that one interesting action here is capturing your example, and then put it back, right? Now, although I cannot make this quite complicated one, okay? However, I can show you some simpler version of this action later on that you can still modify and create your work on your own. Okay, the next question. So you can see also some variety here, right? For the overlay, because all of you make the correct, okay, drawing, okay. That's why this one is not the correct one, okay. It is the default. If I don't show the original, you see that? If I don't show the original, then all the results are rectangles that all of you have created. All right. So what do you notice?
They're all different.
They're different, yes. And then? Huh?
We can form like a triangle shape.
Triangles. Can you elaborate why you see a triangle?
So you can go extremely long on the width, or extremely long on the length. So yeah, if you put them together, it just looks like
So which part are you actually focusing on?
the length of two sides.
The length of two sides. How about the others? Anything you want to say about this pattern?
They go through one function.
Go through, yes?
At the corner.
The corner, yes, one of the vertex. I think the focus will be on this particular corner, right? This one vertex that you can move, okay? Because remember, you have all tried this, right? In each of this rectangle, you can only move this vertex. The others are not controlled directly by you. Okay? This one is also fixed, in fact. Okay? Now, then the attention probably will be on this movable vertex. Okay? So you can ask, what do you notice about this movable vertex? Right? Now, that is the way maybe you want to continue the discussion, okay? Or draw the attention, draw your student attention to this part. Okay? So what you see a triangle, I think it's actually the line here, okay? Which is I don't know how far it is obvious to students or not. Okay? Maybe some students find it quite interesting or unexpected, right? But first of all, you should try to let them talk about it, right? Let them say what they see, first of all, okay? Do they notice that this movable vertex all seems to lie on one line, okay? So that, is it really because you fix the perimeter? Or there's some reason, right? At the same time, so we also referring to the constraint now again, okay? Because we are producing rectangles of the same perimeter, right? And then somehow it looks like all the vertices are on one line, right? So that is also part of, I guess this is also part of the results the teachers want to discuss. Let's try to check this sample response no particular hint here. Okay? Sometimes the author may want to put down some suggestions, right? Some kind of description or prompting question like you try. Okay? So remember this overlay is very useful. Okay? And then if you break it down, then these are your revisions. Right? But when you put them together, you see another pattern. Any question from you, first of all? Now, what's interesting in this series of slides is that the data collected are carry on. Right? You remember? What you have done here is also put forward, right? And carry forward to another slide for further discussions. Right? So the next one, we are working on our individual triangles produced by the students. And it's also quite interesting, but not too much to discuss here, I believe. Right? You just see the variation in the rectangles, okay? That all of you produce, because there's no particular order. Right? But each of you create 3 different rectangles. Right? So you can emphasize that all these are different rectangles, right? Produced by the student. Right? So they are not pre-assigned, okay, by the author. They are all created by the student at the moment. Okay? So you can see the variety. And then on this side, you can see the table. So based on each rectangle, you calculate the width. Okay? So you have the length and width are the same in this case. Now you can check another student. This is another student. Okay? So that means there may be something different in the first. What I mean is that incomplete in the first student's work, all right, while you're not really creating 3 different rectangles. Right? But anyway, it doesn't matter. I think it's most important to let the whole class know what's going on. All right? Even though sometimes one or two students may not totally understand the task or maybe do something different, all right? But you can still get back to the more complete pictures of the task. And now that is another student's work, so you can see 3 different rectangles and 3. Now these are completed by you, okay? But these are captured. I think these are generated by the computer, right? These are included by you, and then you can see the variation in the area. Right? So this is the table. Help the student to keep track of the numerical values, right? How they are changing or varying. Can you see this button? I can turn to different student. Okay. But on this one is the slides. Okay. So these are change of slide. So these are change of the students. Let's see whether there's any teacher suggestions here. So this is a great place to check the student's progress. In order to calculate the width of the rectangle, students you need to understand the parameters, the sum of two widths and two lengths. So these are some general suggestions. Right. And then let's see now this summary. What you see? Okay, no particular summary. It's just an original table. Okay. And then the responses. All right, now, but the next thing is that I think this calculation is also carry on. Okay? Now you're asked to draw a graph. Right? Imagine that. Yeah, some give a very rough sketch. Okay? But most of you know quite well how the graph look like. But I don't know, or we may not know what the student will produce. Okay? So that is a chance for the student to demonstrate how they guess, okay, the graph will look like. Okay? So what is this graph? Anyone want to explain? Why you draw it this way? Or you want to highlight the maximum, right? Yeah. Okay, so this is not individual points, but that is the indicator of the maximum. Okay? So there's something extra, okay, being displayed on the graph. So it's good to share, right? It's good to share with different students what you produce. And don't forget that it may not be totally obvious what the graph looks like. Right? The students may try to make a guess. And this is also the overlay, see whether it's interesting. So the pattern are more or less the same. Yeah. And how about on this side? Imagine that you look at the classmates' views. Now imagine that we make a graph of the areas of those. These are instructions. Okay. Sketch what you think that the graph will look like, or describe it below. Right? So it's all offer another chance. Okay. So that's very good. You try to make use of it. And although they may not know the terms quadratic, okay, and they can describe it in some other. We encourage them to write actually here, all right? So we encourage them to write and then describe. Yes, this one, so put down some specific value, okay, to illustrate certain critical points perhaps. But be ready, maybe you can also try to think about what you can write, right? Or what you can encourage your student to write. Okay? Is this something that they can describe? So that is also very important. It's not simply just a label or just tell them a technical term that this is quadratic. Okay? But you should also encourage them to think about it. What does it mean with this curve? Okay? So what does it mean by this part? For example, the left part, right? It shows that the area seems to be increasing if you first increase the length. Okay? Later on, the area becomes decreasing. Okay? So this can also be part of the communication or the discussion. You know? Any question from you? Yes. Okay, then the next one, perhaps. Right? Now that one I think is very useful because it gathers all the points of the students. Right? I think you also see the individual one, am I right? So that is one student. Do you understand the graph? The blue dots are all produced by other classmates. Right? But do you have the green one? No. Do you have the red one? You just have the orange one. Let's see the other one. So the first student only produced one rectangle. Right? And I mean, only the three are the same, right, for the first student. Okay? But this second student, this contribute 3. So the 3 rectangles made by this students are marked in orange. Okay? The blue ones are the rest. The blue ones are contributed by the other classes in the classroom. Do you see the blue dots?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right? So do you understand it?
Yes.
Yeah. So this will help the student to see the collective work. That is also very important. Actually, this is a collective activity. It's not totally individual, right? So you've done something, but you also see the result of the others. Right? It's much more convenient and efficient, actually. Right? So the graphing activities can be a collaborative work. You notice that? So you can explain to the student what these dots represent, and then try to know how come the dots are now arranged in this way. Okay? That is a very important idea as well. Now so this part is not that critical, I think, or it's just the technical terms, right? I don't know whether they know it or not. I'm not too sure whether they assume they know it or not. Okay? But it's not I don't think it's very important. How about the graph here? The graph shows all the fields your classmates are in blue, okay? It's already described there. Okay? Your classmates, and what function family do you think best describe the data? Right? So that may be similar to some modeling. I mean, typical modeling questions in the textbook, for example, right? You ask them to fit the curve. So what kind of function will you choose? But I don't know what level that you students are working with, or whether they know the technical term quadratic or not. I think even they don't know the technical term quadratics, okay, they can still take part in this activity. Right? Of course, provided you adjust the question, right, and something like that. And then second part is that you will try to explain your thinking, okay? Now that may vary, depends on based on what criteria you expect them to explain or describe, okay? Do they simply know the formula, or do they just look at the curve, right? Do they guess it's quadratic because of the shape of the curve, or do they know the formula? Because somehow, up to this stage, we have not discussed the formula yet, right? We have not discussed the function yet, okay? The symbolic functions. Any question from you? So now this is very useful if you took the overlay, okay? Then we can see but anyway, you see the point already in the individual graph. Because all the two dots are already shown there. So, right, so these are some of the descriptions you produce. Okay? There's some talk about the shapes. Okay? Now you look at that symmetric. That is one of the characteristics of this quadratic graph. So very useful to point this out as well. Right? And then you also see the vertex. So you can imagine what the student can produce, right? And then try to think about how to help them to further discuss. Another one, what is it about? Graph the data. Let's see the original version. I remember. Drag the green dot so that it represents where the graph will have to find the largest field, okay, largest area. Okay. Now that is a movable dot. Okay. So I think most of you should give an answer. So this is not so accurate. And this one. So most of you put the green dots here. Now, but when I do the overlay, not that easy, but you can still some variation. Okay. You enlarge it. You see that? Okay. So but it's not too much variation. Okay. Most of you know how to choose the points, okay? Although there's some different points here. Now, but I don't know whether all of the students can understand it. Right? That can be, you can also find out from the student to see how they read. Don't take for granted anyway, because for us it may be very obvious what does it mean or where's the maximum point. Okay? But for the student, we don't know how they interpret the graph. It depends on how they interpret the dots in the graph, right? And relate to the questions. Right? So that can also be something to discuss with the students. Right, so you see, obviously. Yeah. So that may depend on their understanding or experience. What do you think the student can say?
Obviously.
Well, just a guess. What do you think they will say?
They just look the points and find the highest one.
Highest one, yeah. The tallest one, highest one from the point.
Turning point.
The turning point. Maybe more technical or wise.
Or look at the blue dots.
The blue dots.
Yeah, like more gathering place.
Right.
That makes to be the biggest area.
Right. Oh, but it's just show more dots are there.
Yeah.
And so, no, well, just a guess. Right? Some students will say that this is the highest one, but we don't know whether some students will find a point here, further away, and then they say, "Oh, this is the greatest." Or some may still imagining a rectangle here. Can you see that?
Yeah.
They may not totally understand this graph. But
Oh.
some may still say that, okay, it made a greatest rectangle somewhere here. But of course, it may not be easily described. Right? Don't forget that they have to relate two pictures. Right? It's not really so obvious to most students. Understand, right? Somehow we are working on the variable on one graph, but then we're looking at the actual pictures of rectangle in another graph. Okay? They have to match them together, relate them together. Okay? So that's not necessarily really obvious for all students. Understand? Okay, so the next one, yes, we look at the table again. All right. So what is the area of any one with 50 meters of perimeter and length makes so to the answer. Okay, let's see the original version. So what's the area of any old field, one with 50 meters of perimeter and the length x? Yes. So the most important part is the last one. Okay? How you put down these expressions. Can you fill in these expressions? That is the additional rectangle, right? Now put it here. So let's look at the student's work again. So you put down correctly these expressions. So you can produce different expressions, okay, but can be equivalent. Now that is the stage where we expect the student to try express it in the algebraic form. Okay, the relation. Right. So that may be easy or not. I don't. It also depends. Okay. So how the student understand the algebraic expressions. And let's look at this. There's no summary. I remember that. Because the results are in the table, so I think they may not be able to produce a simple summary. Although my interest will be what they really put down here. Okay? And now you also notice that you can write this in different ways. Okay? So you can also compare what they write, right? And also ask them to check, are they equivalent? Because that may not be obvious, right? Or if you write it this way, is it the same as the previous one? Right? But however, I think the system right now cannot easily put together the result in the table, right? as a summary, right? To compare and investigate. So you have to check the individual maps. Well, you can take the snapshot. You remember this one? So if you want to say, okay, I want to check this one, and I also want to, which one is different? This one, okay, check this one. Then you have tools. Then you can now compare. Right? And you can ask, all right, are these two expressed? Oh, so this is the same. Yeah. But anyway, okay, you can ask whether they are the same, okay, and how you can compare them. You can use the snapshot. Okay, now to this stage, we have the graph. Because we have produced the. So go back to the screen X and find the function X that gives the area of the field with length X. Do we input the functions there? Let's check. So you write down this question. What's the question? What is the area? Oh no. Is this one? No.
Only has two questions.
Yes. There are two questions. Here's the graph of the functions. Are we going to slide 11 again? I think after you input it, you have give the areas of the okay. I don't get the question actually. Go back to screen and find this function that gives the area that the field with length X. But this is just text, right? Just find that.
I don't think we have that question.
Yeah.
Huh?
We don't have
We
that
only
page.
have this one.
We don't have that page. We just show.
We don't
Oh.
have to,
Really?
yeah,
Yes.
enter the function.
So you have these questions.
We have
We
this,
only
yeah,
have
we have
this
this.
two questions.
So what's missing? You have this one,
We
right?
do, yeah.
Yes.
But you don't have this one.
We have.
We have this one. We don't have the one you just showed.
The one you
Oh.
need to enter
Yeah,
the
this,
function.
we don't have this one.
Oh, that's
Because
quite
on the
strange.
previous page, you need to select which function it is.
Let me see. So, okay, is this the screen?
Yes.
Here's the graph of your function. What does it tell you about the dimension? That means once you input the function, then they will ask the following questions. All right. So that is that. Then that's not directly shown in the teacher's page here. But then this is generated. This is generated by a function. Yeah. Can someone show a wrong one to see what it looks like? Can you try to change it? Just to change a little bit. anyone make a change? Yeah.
Where?
Page 11, slide 11.
You can't change the ground.
Oh, you can't
Right,
change.
it's given.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's given.
It's given.
Yeah.
It's given based on the data you
We only
input
have
in
to
the
answer
dash table.
But I
two
think
questions.
you can check mine.
Which one?
Score. The last one. Which one?
Oh, you have changed this one.
Yes.
Is it in a table?
Yes, I checked it in the table.
In a table, right?
Oh,
I see.
yeah.
Okay, so it is based on the functions in the table. Yeah. So that's interesting. Now I try here in my table. Okay. Yeah, I think the page. So that is yeah, that's will show what the students will do. Well, I mean, I implement my functions there as well. So it is updated. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, only when you input the functions, then they will adjust, right? So they will now update, right? Updates the screen according to your input. So I think the other one is similar, right? Just continue to invite the student to give a suggestion, right? To test how they, first of all, of course, to test how far they understand the graph. And how far they understand the problem and the variables and functions. Finally, the last line, okay? So it's an extension of the question. So I think most of you understand this question. It's just, you can consider it an extension, okay? But it's a similar nature, right? So that the students adapt the formula of the function to see how the result varies. So how can you respond in this case?
There is a problem with the red line with the square. Because the perimeter is like 50 meters, right?
Yes?
I'm trying to make a width with 25 meters, kilometers. And then the other width should be 25, right? And then 15 minus 225 is 25. But here I see 46.5.
Right.
So it's complicated.
Do we expect it to be a square?
Biggest area, yes. I think.
Do you think so?
No.
No?
You only do 3 sides, not 4 sides.
Yeah, but area, the biggest area.
Still number.
Do not? I think.
It's good to have a try.
Yes, we have a try.
Okay. So because the condition is that these 3 sides we have a constant length, okay, altogether, the sum of these three sides,
right?
but not this side, okay?
Yeah.
Under this constraint, how will you get the greatest area? So how will you describe, first of all, the area? How will we describe the area?
The width times length.
Huh?
The width times length.
Width times length, right? But how would you further describe the width and length in this case?
You have to set up one variable.
One variable, okay. So which one will you choose?
The width.
The width. That means, do you mean the vertical one?
The vertical
Yeah.
one.
The vertical one, okay. So that is the x,
Yeah.
The x, yeah.
and that is also x. How about this one then?
50 minus 2x.
50 minus 2x, okay? So the area will be x times 50 minus 2x. Okay? Where would you expect the maximum? Where would you expect the maximum? So I can turn it to 2x. Is it easier to read this way? When would you expect the maximum? That means for what values of x would you expect the maximum?
And the axis of symmetry.
Axis symmetry. So where is it?
12.5.
Huh?
12.5.
12.5. Then the 25 over 2.
The midpoint of
Yeah.
two roots.
Yeah, the midpoint of the two roots, okay? Because you can see that one is 0, the other intercept is 25, and the midpoint is 25 divided by 2, 12.5, okay? So the area, so if this 12.5, then what shape should it be? Okay, so we now go to do it.
It's a 2-to-1 rectangle.
Okay, let me get
Lower.
12.5 and 25.
Yeah.
So
There's
it's
something wrong.
It's a 2-to-1 rectangle. It's not wrong.
So can I make it show? Yeah, show a 5, okay, here. And then, how about the width then?
25 should be the length.
25.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it work?
Yes.
But this is not a square.
It's not good.
Yeah. So it's a shape. Alright, so yeah, that is the answer. Alright, so of course, depends on how far you interpret the answer. Okay, and I know that it's not just simply getting the numerical answer. Right? There's a range of questions to be discussed as well. Okay, so why it has this shape? Why it's not a square? Right? And then, but you can also get back to some related knowledge, just like how just reading an expression. What would you tell? Can you quickly tell where's the maximum? Right? And how you can also express it in a diagram. This is also interesting, okay? Because you're not simply just work out the numerical answer. You can also quickly check it, okay? Or now to communicate with the rest, okay? What should it be, right? And that will involve a range of discussion and sharing, perhaps. Okay, so any other comment, questions? Okay, so you can see how I use this kind of Desmos activities again, okay, because more important part is that not simply how you make it, but also how you conduct the activities and also discussion with the class, right, with the student. And even beforehand, you can prepare for it, right? Because you may still also have to take care of different kinds of responses or different kind of possible discussion with the student as well. In fact, there can be quite a lot of preparation to be done. Okay? Now, one small reminder again, I don't expect you to do all this in class. Right? Because it may take some time. Right? It's better to let them try it before the lesson, unless you just show them 1 or 2 slides in class or ask them to finish some of the slides in class. Okay? Otherwise, it may take quite a lot of time. Okay? So you should try to gather the responses before the lesson, and then even give yourself some time to prepare for the discussion or the activities in the class. Okay, so now let's see some constructions of activities. All right, we'd like to try some construction activities together. Okay. Now I have some examples. As I mentioned, the ordinary ones that you can try may not be so complicated. Okay? So, but you still can make a list or variety of questions in this environment. Before I do that, can I quickly show you another type of task? This is called the Marbeslides. Okay, that is also very. You can take the popular, right? The popular tabs. So that will give you a kind of activity. So I just quickly show you. Okay, so this is called the Marbeslides activities. If you open this, or you can just see the student. Without really entering the task, you can actually open the student preview. Can you see this? Okay. So they ask you to, now here is the goal. Get all the stars, okay? And then get to know the lines. That means the equations of the line. You click the launch and see what will happen. So I click the launch.
Oh.
Okay, success. Okay, so this is a demonstration only. Okay. The next line. Okay, so this is the line that you can adjust. This is the equation. Okay. Now, what happens if I click launch here?
No stop.
No stop. Yes, you're right. Right. So try again. So how can I adjust this line?
Minus something.
Minus what?
Minus 2.
2.
No, 3.
3. Okay.
What?
Yeah. It will.
Let's try. No harm. You can try it and see what it looks like.
2.
So what do we like? 2. Okay. Okay. So you can create this kind of activity. Right? I can show you how to do it. Okay. And then the next one. No, it's just tell you how to reset. Okay. Just one more. Okay. How to change it?
Slope should be.
Stop. Okay. So what would you like?
2x.
2.
No, that's too much.
1. This is 1.
0.5.
0.5. 1/2. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So that's one. Okay. Okay. Now let's try it. And okay, I mean create your own. So if you have your account, you have to go to the custom page in order to create a new activity. You see that? Okay. So you can create some activities together, right? So you can have your own. And once you open it, so you can type it. Maybe I think October 24 workshop. It's my title, it's up to you. It's the title of the activity. Right? Remember the setup last time? Right? So you can select different components. Right? So last time I showed you the basic one is just to open a graph. I mean the ordinary graphing wheel, right? Then you can start input any elements to describe the task, right? Or you can also add other elements like a scan. This is also very common, right? And after that, you can also add the notes, right? Some questions put down there for instructions. And finally, you can put down a choice if it's a multiple choice question. That is a common kind of layout. Now, I start a new one. If you can try that later if you want to create some simple activity and then discuss together. For the Marbeslides, you can see here. Okay, see this more, okay? And then one of this is the Marbeslides activity. Can you get it?
Yes.
Do you have this?
I don't have.
If you can't see it, then maybe you can open the lab. Now let me try it.
Maybe it's because of second. I only have 2 options in the more card sort and order list.
Yeah. And there's Now, under your account, then you can check the Desmos Labs option. Under your account, you have to go back, and then you see the list here.
Oh.
Okay? So make sure that it's enabled.
Oh.
Take all of them anyway, no harm. Just take all of them. Later on, I will show you this one computation later. This is the component which allows you to input some coding, okay? So that you can create more complicated tasks, like the previous one about the rectangle area, okay? It involves a lot of more programs, okay? But I don't know too much. But you can study that. All right? If you're interested, you can have a look, right? See what kind of codes you can add to the activities. Is that okay? Can you find it? Can you find it? Right? You can also take the geometry. Okay? I can also try some geometry activities with you as well. All right? Okay, then just go back. Okay, if you go back to the previous part, you can edit the activities. Okay, so you can edit the draft. So you go back to the editing wheel now. Okay, or you can create a new one. So, in a new page, okay, in a new page, so you can start find the Marbeslides. Can you see that?
Yes.
The Marbeslides activity. I think it's very intuitive. Now you see the Marbeslides. What you need is to create some points. Now, if I go back, the setup is like this. Okay, get some points. Okay. So you can design some points, and you design the starting point of the ball. That's all. And then you can also include some equations. It's up to you. Even if you don't put down anything, you can already start doing it. But of course, usually, you will input an equation. So okay, let's try something. I put 1, 1, and then 2, 2. Yes, you can. Any equation. Okay, so these are the stars I now put on the screen. Okay, and then I put the ball here. Let's say 6, 9, a bit higher. Okay. Now you can check the preview. This is the preview. Okay. Now there's no equation, but I think in case the student know what the task is doing, they can input the equation when they answer it, and then click launch. Okay. That means the minimal could be like this. You don't even input any equation. You just tell them, okay, input your own equation. Right? If they know what kind of activity it's really doing, okay, then you can already done. If not, okay,
but
and you can.
The ball is 6, 100, and it will not hit the star.
6, 100, very high.
Yeah, and it will not hit the star.
Why not?
You can try.
6, 1. Is it too high? Or you have to wait?
It can touch, but
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Because they include the gravity. Yeah, because they are imitating the physical action. If you're dropping from too high, it bounces. Oh. You see that? Yeah, I remember. They also take into consideration the gravity. Okay? So then you can try some physics activities as well. In that case. Yeah. A very good try, okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Now, so just like the previous question, you may input an equation first, okay, for the student to adjust. For example, here, okay, So that is the pre-assigned equation, okay? So when you see the review, the equation is included. Right, so you can ask the student to change it. And you can also add a note here. Can you see that? Okay. Change. Sorry, you should turn it into text. You have to indicate deliberately a note. Okay, that means you just input text. Okay. So you can simply something like this and move it up. It's much better, right? To move it up, change one equation and launch. Okay, so that you can keep the instructions there anyway. Okay, or you can say change one of the coefficients to be more specific. So that this is what the activity looks like. Okay, so the student now can try it. No, this is not possible. Or they may just get some of the, no, I think it's wrong here. It's too far away.
0.
+2. Let's see what happens. Okay. So it's only one of the stars. Right, so we will know how to play with this. Right? It can be quadratic. Yes, you're right. It can be quadratic. If I try to turn it into, let's say,
Wow.
okay. Just one star. Okay. Now then you can adjust the star. So I'm now adjusting the star. Okay, then 3, maybe 1, maybe 2. Now at the same time, I move it down. Okay, so that will be my new question. Right, so you can ask the student to guess, can I do 1 and then launch. Oh. So it's do well. Understand? So that will be my question. So now, if you save it, then you can see the task. Okay? So I can publish it. Now that's already published, this activity. Right? So you can see the students will, this is one page, this second page. Okay? So the student can download it in here. Okay, maybe we can have a try. So I can continue to edit it. And now I go back to the edit page. So that's the edit page. If you try a little bit to see whether you can make it. some more curious graphs.
我有看。
How about this one?
哇，好擅长！哇，哇，真的超强了。
Too steep?
I think it's very useful for us STEM education. If you have tracks and few stars.
So I will put some. How about I put some here? 4, 3. Yeah. 1, 2. Negative 3. You think I can hit this?
Hopefully.
Okay, try.
Oh no.
Oh, yeah, it works. Whoa. That's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
How about I move it here? 6. Okay.
Whoa.
哇，
Almost.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So we can have a lot of fun, right?
Yeah. And we can put more than 3 stars, can we?
Yes, you can choose one here. Experiment. And you can find a lot of examples.
I have a question. Can we put 2 functions?
Yes,
Yeah, you
yes,
can.
you can.
But one can block each other. I just
I
tried.
mean like 分段 like
Oh.
from 0 to 5 you have 1 function and from 5 to 10 you have
Yeah. Now, try to look at the examples. I say this first.
Yeah, can we put piecewise function?
Yes.
Huh?
You can.
Oh, piecewise.
Piecewise.
It's very easy. You go to the home, and then you check those Marbeslides. You see this? Insertion.
Oh,
Marbeslides.
mini
Yeah, mini. There's so many examples.
哇，
嗯
思维很强。哎，这个好。哇。
哦。
哈哈哈哈。
This is more and more complicated. And let's see other examples. Now this is parabola, okay? But it's more than just parabola.
Oh.
So these are the piecewise functions.
Yeah.
Right? So this is, I think maybe 2 functions. I think.
Wow.
Oh. Wow.
Now to draw it, okay, let's see. Let's see whether I can edit. No, I cannot edit this one. Copy and edit, yeah. Copy and edit. Okay, you can, so can you see that I now copy and edit the activity. So that is the first slide, right? Inside the first slide, open the folder. Can you get it?
Oh.
Now this folder is hidden because we take this. I hide this folder from student. Okay? So that's why you can't see this. You only see the instruction, only see the graph. Okay? And that is the one of the graph. So you input the function, include the range. Okay? This one is another function, include the range. Okay? I think that's another one. All right? Let's check this.
我
Now this is parabola. Okay?
们
So
可以
this No, just 2. So this range. So that is the first one. Can you see this?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so this is the first one. This is the second one. So why the second one is like this? Ah, okay. This is the y. Alright, so specify the range of y, not the range of x. That's why there's a hole inside. So you can study the examples. You can study all these examples. So when you preview this, that's why you don't see the equations. You just say click log, okay? Then you will see what happened. So these 4 stars, right? 4 stars and 1 ball here. Now that is the second page. See that? Change the sign of one number in the row below. Okay? So they are given an equation and then you can change it. And then how about further down? So we have this one or this one. Yeah, so this is also the range included. So change the number. That means you will change the equation or change the range, perhaps. You can also change the domain. Okay? Now this one is also quite challenging. You can type more than one parabola equation. Okay? And then in order to correct all the stuff. But I don't know how it works. Can I type another one? Okay, this one. Okay.
Whoa.
So you see how it works? Oh, it's trapped.
We can move the second curve to the left a little bit.
Yes, yes, maybe. So you play with this? Oh, no. But the idea is like that. You can create more and then just make your own path. Okay? There can be some piecewise functions, I think. So I don't see any examples here immediately, but I remember you can make piecewise functions. Just connect different pieces together. Right? It is possible. Yeah. Okay, now maybe I go on to demonstrate some other activities. You can go on to experiment with this, all right? Then next one, okay, now go back. Okay, I just deleted this one. Go back to the ordinary one, just to recap what we have done last time, okay? So I can just create an equation. Let's say I can create a point, first of all. So here's a point on the x-axis. Can you remember?
Yes.
Right, so you do it like this, and then you can make a parabola. By simply this one. And I can ask questions like this. So that is the, I made the wrong one. I can add a note here. Now remember, when you add a note, then the graph will be reduced, and the student may not be able to open the graph. Okay? The student will only see the graph, not the expression that's inside. Okay? So to decide what to do, because if you open the whole graph, then they can continue to input just like the Marbeslides windows. Okay? But sometimes you may need other places for putting down the question, or on the other hand, restricting the access of the graph, right, in order to answer some other questions. Now I like them to choose which of the following can be an equation of this graph. Make a multiple choice now. Okay? Now, why I ask so? Because this is a movable, right? A changeable graph, right? So you may drag, or I just give more instruction. So I specify that this is a quadratic. All right, can you see my question here? This is my question, okay? So this is a quadratic graph, because they don't see the equation. But I also ask, okay, can this be one of the following equations? So I now offer the choices. So what are the choices? The choices can be, I make it, I can make the expression here, the math, click this to add mathematics expression, right? I give them field equation to choose, right? Can it be x squared minus 4, for example? Can it be x minus 4 whole square? I forgot to put that math expression. Okay. Add one more. Can you see this? Can it be x squared? Oh, I forgot again. X squared minus 4x. How about x squared Okay, can you see my options? I have input 4 options here for the multiple choice. Okay, you see that? And I can indicate the answer. If I take this one can be an answer. How about this one? This one can also be an answer. Okay. I say multi-select, sorry, I forgot. Now, if it is a simple question, and you have only one answer, okay? But it is a multi-select answer question. So I take this one. You see this multi-select, okay? Then I can choose more than one options to be an answer. Okay? There can be more than 4. You can continue to add more if you like. So I can see, now if I choose explain, what happened?
There's a word box.
Yeah, but can I choose more than one answer? No, I don't know why. But it's a bit strange. If I ask the system to explain, then I cannot choose more than one answer. Okay, then I just keep it up. Okay, then let's see. This is the preview. Okay, can you see that? That is, now they will remind you, you can select all that apply. Right? That means there can be more than one for the answer. And the student can drag this. You notice that? Okay? So I'm asking which one can be an equation. Okay. So on one hand, you can make ordinary multiple choice questions, like paper and pencil questions, actually. Okay? But for this one, I deliberately make it dynamic, right? So that the student maybe have a little bit more to think about this, right? So they can also try to investigate or analyze this graph in a different way, so different from the usual textbook or paper, pencil environments. Now, so you can see that the student have not much to do with the graph, okay? And except the part I leave it movable, okay? So that is the part I just make it movable here, but I can also fix it. And how about the curve itself? They can still check the points on the curve. Can you see that? So that is another slide, okay? So you can try to make use of it. Can you follow? All right. Have I shown you this one, this kind of thing last time? No? You can, you can draw the graph, ask the question, and then do the multiple choice. Right? I think it's similar. Right? But based on this, you can also continue to design a different kind of question. Now, not much time left behind, but I'd like you to try a little bit more different questions. I just show you briefly, right? If you choose geometry, okay, then you can still set some kind of geometry tools. Actually, there can be a lot of things to make here, right? But I think that I leave it to you, right, for further investigation later on. And the type of tools that are provided is not that many compared with GeoGebra. Right? I think it's still usable. Right? They're still useful in some way. Okay? Particularly they try to make it simple so that you can create some objects, at least some simple objects quickly and efficiently. For example, you can make a triangle here. So that is the 3 triangles. Can you see this? And I add one more vertex.
Sorry, is this sketch or what?
No, it is geometry.
Oh, geometry.
Yeah.
Oh.
I open it again. Can you see this geometry?
Yeah.
Geometry tool.
Yeah.
And you will see this tools right, for drawing lines. Now, based on this drawing, okay, now you can check individual objects. When I click this object, you can see the label. Now, you can choose choose the label. Then you can see the name A, okay? So I can continue to another one. B, C, and then D. Can you see this? Okay. I can do something like drawing angles. I mark the 3 points to make an angle. Another 3 points, for example, here. So all these dynamic drawing okay, you know how it works. Now the next thing I do is now going to fix the points, some of the points, right? A is fixed, I lock it, all right? And the point B, I also lock it. And the point C, I just leave the point D to be 3 point, all right? And for the point D, maybe I change the color a little bit to highlight, but not much to do anyway. Okay, can you see this? Now I just close this part to make it smaller, all right? And now I add a note. Okay. So now I like to simply drag the point D to make 2 similar triangles. Is that a question? Oh, that's a question. So that is the preview, okay? So the student cannot move A, B, and C, but he can move D. Can you make 2 similar triangles? This figure? Okay. So we can have some ideas. We can set up some geometry questions. Right? Now, but the response is limited because at the same time you may not be able to use. You can still make multiple choice anyway. You can also give some option in case some question may be turned into multiple choice question. You can give some options here. But I think that's all. Right? Maybe there's no other elements that you can add to this. But bear in mind, I find that even in the students' will, they can still open the tool. Okay? Actually, they can continue to modify. For example, if you click on point C, they can unlock it. Actually, okay. But I don't know. It's up to you. Maybe you can just tell the student don't open the tools and then just answer the question. Okay, may not be a very big problem anyway. Okay, but still, actually, they can. On the other hand, you can create more complicated questions. You can ask the student to construct something on the graph, right? In case they know some basic ideas about geometric construction, okay? You can ask them, can you add some lines here to mark the circumcenter, for example. Okay? So that can also be part of the question. Right? You can just open the tool to try it out. So can we add something else? I don't think so. There's not much we can do with it. How about if I add a graph? We can still add a graph. Interesting. You can imagine what interesting question you can ask. Okay, if you can do this. Okay. I leave it to you to decide. Okay. And you can think about it. What else can I add? I can add a table. But so far you may not notice what you can do with the table. But there's no sketch. You see that? Okay? Once I add the geometry window, I don't see the option of sketch. So that's, you can see the combination that they allow. Okay? Okay, now maybe that's all for this activity. All right, so you can continue to try this kind of activities later. Okay. Now let's see, maybe you can try something else together. Now I mentioned briefly, okay, you can even use some codes, right? So input some codes to produce a more complicated activity, particularly if you are familiar with programming, okay? I don't know how much you can do this, but you can have a try. You have to open the computation layer. You see the option here, Desmos lab earlier, right? You have to open the computation layer. Now what kind of things can be done? Let me show you some examples quickly first. So this is a collection I get from someone else, but I have another one here. Okay, so that is an activity that includes some kind of code right, behind it. So I now open it. Right, so it's called can we come to have a try? Okay, can you see it? The first question, I just want you to input some number, all right? So it doesn't matter, you can just simply input some number, so that you can see the result. It's already demonstrated here. You notice that? So it is a graph that is instantly updated. Okay? So once you input some value, it includes some codes behind it. That's why I say it is more than the simple task I showed you earlier, all right? So you can ask any question and ask them to submit some number. It's particularly good for statistics, in fact. Yeah. Right? So you can just collect some information on statistical data quite immediately. Wow, someone is making something very big. So you see that graph just immediately. Right? So do you know this kind of dot, this kind of plot? We call it dot plot. Right? Dot plot. Okay? It's very simple because you just ask them to put a dot on a number line. That is the basic form of showing distributions. Right? Although you can later turn it into histogram, frequency, polygon, something like that. Okay? But that is a more primitive version of this showing the distributions. Okay, now you can try the next one. So what is the radius of this circle? Make a guess. Just make a guess. So I intend to ask you to estimate. Okay? So you can see some example. Once you input a radius, you can see your choice is now shown on the graph, right? So on the graph. So it is different from the previous task I showed you because it seems that what you input there originally may not be fed into this graph. Okay? You see that? But now I write some code so that what you input here can be carried out in the graph. So there's some connection between the two components. Okay? So originally I showed you another example. You can do something. You can drag the point here, but you cannot affect directly by the input point in the other. I'll show you how to do it later. Okay. So if I change it to 4, for example, so you can see the change immediately, right? So I'm now adjusting it. So most of you can guess quite well. Okay. So you know quite well. Just a little bit. How about this one? Is it easy to guess? How do you guess? So I wonder how you now make a guess here. So you can see a variety of answer, right? But that would, why so many of you make a guess of 10? And some 12 and 15. Do you have any reason to
They copy each other.
They copy each other.
Who can't?
Do you see any other results on your own screen?
No.
No, okay, only here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can copy.
Right, so not directly on the screen only. Now, but you can also see the result. Okay. Now, what I want to show is that now, in case you are not seeing the other answers, I wonder whether you are guessing more or less the same, all right? Or anyone make a very different estimation. All right. So that is enough. Now, this is also a graph collecting the data from the previous slide. Okay. So then you input directly, right, in this graph. Is it easy to guess?
No.
This one, no.
This one, no. All right. So that may be. That's why I assume that there can be a variations, a variety of answers coming out. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, but there can also be a mathematical questions later on. So by what means you can make a better estimate? Just look at part of the circle. Understand my point here? Although I asked you to make a guess at the beginning, right? But you can also go on to elaborate, right?
Yeah.
Is there any way you can make use of this part of the circle to estimate better the radius? So any information that you can make use of on this graph?
Is greater, must be greater than 10, I guess.
But it's greater than 10.
Right.
So you can think about it. Now this can be a very good question. How about the next one? Now this one is also a circle, not completely shown. Okay. And is this? But do you think this one is easier to estimate?
Kind of producing a larger part of it.
Yeah.
A larger part. Yeah.
I suspect they are the same circle.
No.
I
I
suspect
forget. I don't know. But the previous one, I just put it in a more arbitrary way. So I assume the previous one is more difficult.
Yeah.
But this one, it should be easier, a bit easier. You know why? Yeah, you say the bigger part, and also it is more symmetric.
Yes.
Right? So now you can see more clearly the x-intercept. Okay? And then it's supposed, more or less, it is the highest point. Right? So that's enough for you to calculate the radius. Is that enough? Can you see this point?
7, 1.
Let me see. Yes, you can click on this.
Oh, yeah.
So you can ask, will this point be useful? To find the center? So you can say that this can be a textbook question, but I present you another way. Right? I don't just directly tell you what to find, right? But it's up to the student to decide what information I should make use of, right, in order to find the result. But in fact, it is also a very practical question. Right? Because in case if you are looking at a very large circular structures, can you understand what I mean? If you are imagining that you're looking at very large circular structures, all right? By what means that you can get some limited information to understand, to find the radius. In the actual measurement environment, you may not always see the center, right? And or it may be so big that you cannot access the center, right? Then you're using part of it only. Well, that's enough, theoretically. Okay? Right? So you can make use of coordinate geometry ideas or simply just geometry of circles, right? Because that shows you one chord. And that is the distance from one point to the chord. Right? I mean the extreme points, okay? And that, sorry, it should be the midpoint of the chord, right? That was making useful. Okay? Then you can try to work out the answer, okay? With or without coordinates, it's up to you. Okay, now so okay, now let's look at the constructions of these activities. So if I now open I can now edit the copy. Okay, now this is what I mean by the code. Okay, now this is the graphic window. Understand? If you open it, and you can check it later, right? I just demonstrate quickly, all right? If you open it, it is a graphic window, just like the usual one. I have some points included here, right? But you may not directly know now. I'll show you later. And that is the question, just a written question, okay? Now, but what's going on is here. Now we have a field for inputting answer, so you can add a field, just like actually you can find it from the video I will show you here. If I add a blank one, then I can add input. Okay, that means an area where the student can input the answer. Right, so that is the input box. Right, then here, the major part is that I label the input box. I call it input box. This is the name I give it. Okay, and based on this, I can instruct. Okay, I instruct the program to connect these two parts. So similarly, this part I also name it the show data. Okay, show data form. I also give a name to it. Understand? Okay. Now for this one, because I name it as input 4, so you look at the gear. This gear will open the window for you to access the code. Okay. So you click on here, and you can see the code for that part.
So you did this code?
Yes, we entered the code here. Is it clear? Okay. Now I may not be able to explain all these in details, right? But just let you know that is the place where you can play the code, right? And you can check the list or the document. The document files, right? Of this computation layer. Right? Now basically, it use the command aggregate, okay, to collect all your numerical values from the box input 4. So input 4 is lower and on the left, on the right of the screen. Okay, you can see that input 4, and that so normally you should submit a value. Okay, so the values are all collected. So that will be aggregate. That means collecting all the students' values. Okay, and then it will be put into a number list. So N is the name of the list. Okay, so we'll form a list here. And the label is N, and the number D is your own value. Okay? So the input 4 number numerical value, it is the value you input. Okay? But the previous one is the aggregations of all the values. And I also make use of it to make a bound. Bounds here means bounds of the graph that you see later on in this area. Okay? So that the bound of the graph is controlled by some number L and U, which is defined by the values that you input. Okay, now I'll show you more later on. Now, how to find out details about this coding? You can click on this. When you open this part, you'll see this this button, right? Or this question mark. You open it. Okay, and that is the rest. So you can see the code. Okay, so it tells you what command that you can make use of. Now I'm not familiar with programming, so actually I don't know too much actually. Okay, but you can have a check to see whether you can make use of some of them. Or in my case, I just copy some examples that I find on the web and then modify them. Okay, so I don't really do it from scratch. Actually, okay, so I just pick something that I'm interested, and then I copy the activity, and then I try to analyze the code to see how I can adapt it. That's all. Okay, so I'm not creating all these things on my own. Understand? Yes. So you can have a try. Okay, so when you go back to the graph, now you find that actually what I input here is I want the dot plot of n. N is the list. Okay? But you don't see anything here because there's no input yet. That's why I just put the command here, right? I will draw the dot plot of n, the list. And I will also put upon D 0 and this one. So you can also see your own plot as D0, but the D is not available yet. Okay? So this also becomes so it's now left in this form. And then furthermore, you also see some calculation based on the maximum minimum value of n. We set up the boundary. So we use this number in the code there, and you see the boundary of the window. Okay? So otherwise, it will be very messy because you don't know where you still don't put the point anyway. Okay? So just a little bit more useful adjustment to accommodate it. Okay? Right. So, but I think you understand the basic idea, am I right? So the next one, now this one is simpler actually. This one, you also have a text box. So input the number, okay? And I label it as input 1. So you have to click here. You have to click here to change the name. Actually, this one, you can also name it, but I don't need it. That's why I just leave it open. And then in this graph, let's see what's look like. Also, you can see, it's very simple. This is the equation I've drawn, right? And that is the equation depending on k. But the k is actually your input. Okay? So it's not shown yet. Right? So how I divide it, now I just input this equation, and then when you go to this here, okay, on the window, and you'll find that the number k is your value input in the input 1 box. Okay? So I'll make use of this value of k to draw the graph. Right? So I think that one is similar, right, for you to understand. Right? So you can have a try, right, in making this simple adjustment. Okay? Now then the other one is similar. For example, this one, I label this is input 3. Okay? And there is another page which I collect your values of the input 3. Okay? That's why I can see all the points on this graph. Now, not much time left, but one more example maybe I'd like you to try. We'll show you even more useful tools of this computation later. Okay? I hope that you can have some time to try it now. To me, I think this is more interesting actually. Now this one also includes some code. Let's see how you work on this. So you can see this page, right? You know how to use it? I ask you to try to make an angle, right angle with the point C, okay? And then capture the point. That means leave the point, right, on the screen. So once you think you have made the right angle, okay, just do it briefly, all right? Don't spend too much time. And now once you make here, then you capture it. You see that? Actually, you click the ones and then you capture this one. Do you know how it works? It is similar to the rectangular task you have done at the beginning today, right? When they ask you to create a rectangle of a particular area, okay? So they ask you to drag the point, and then they also provide a button. Do you remember? That is the kind of button they use. Of course, I cannot make so complicated tasks like the one about the rectangle, but this task is quite similar, right? And I can show you the code later on, right, how it works. Now, do you understand this question? Now you can keep working. I hope that you can try a few more pages, okay? But here, briefly, you can see the result. Do you notice that? Right? And also see some pattern here. Can you imagine? If you're really carefully try to make the angle, right angle, right? Then think about it, what kind of pattern you get, okay? So that can also be a question for the student. And when you do the overlay, and that is the overlay. Oh, right? So it's not that easy to make a right angle, right? But let's see whether you can see some patterns emerging, right, coming out. Now similarly, the other slides are more or less the same. Okay? Maybe you can try briefly and try to experience it, right? And see how it works.
How can we delete the point?
I think you can't. Yeah. Maybe you have to study the code later on, right? So far, I don't have the skill to enter more. But how about the second one? The second one is easier. Now, for the second slide, you can see roughly some pattern coming out, right? So you make the points having the sum of the coordinates equal to 5, and roughly you can see, right, hopefully where you put the points. Okay, so that is the result of overlay, right? How about number 3? Can you all do number 3 now? There's not much time left. I just want to quickly go through some of the slides. Right? That is the way you're working on number 3. So for this one, we want to make the two sides, two lengths equal, okay? So that means to make the points equal distance from B and A, okay? and then that is your result, and that is also a pattern, you see? So all these questions are roughly related to locus. And I think this environment is very suitable for working on things related to locus. Not necessarily the topic in the textbook, but any mathematical questions, right, that can be studied this way. So how about next one? I don't know whether you have any idea about this question. What do you expect the locus to be? Number 4. What do you think? You may need some time to try it. Right? I think this one is less obvious to you. So if you make AC equal to twice BC, okay? AC equal to 2 times BC. What patterns will you get this time? Can we all work on number 4? Yeah. Have you any idea? Now let's work together. So if you're all working on the same task, then you can try to look at the overall patterns. Right? So can we all now work on number 4? I think this is the final slide I'd like you to work together. Do you see any patterns coming out? So I want to make AC 2 times BC, okay, twice BC, and then now in the whole class, so you can easily ask all the students to work together, but contribute to the whole answer, right? So you can look at what's coming out. And this is quite interesting this way. So you're individually working on your own. Right? But at the same time, you can also keep tracking, okay? Try to work together. Now, this is another way of collaboration that I always try to make use of, like in this environment. Okay? So what do you think? What do you think the patterns should be? A circle. Are you sure? Are you sure it's a circle?
Ellipse.
Circle or ellipse? Or other things?
Not straight line.
Not straight line, obviously. Okay, now this is homework for you. Okay, so if next time you see me, you can tell me how you know or how you find what should be the curve or the pattern. Okay, so you can tell me how much you know about this. Okay. All right, now I think I have to move on to tell you the code behind it. Okay. By the way, you can keep the link. You know the link, right? Have you marked the code? Then we can continue to do the rest. Right? So you can, I don't know, maybe next time we can come to talk about some of the results together. All right? Do you see the code?
Yes.
All right, so please keep it and keep working on it, or ask your classmates to try it. Okay? Next time you see your other classmates, ask them coming in to try. Because if you have more points, you can see more. Right? If you have more results, then you have more to discuss and work on. Now I show you how to edit it. Okay, I now to copy. That will be a bit more complicated. Okay, so I try to show you briefly and let you investigate. This is the capture button. You notice that this is a button. Okay, so when you start from a blank page, actually you have a choice of action button. Okay, so you can add an action button. Right? But in the actual window, you actually don't see this block. You see just the button here on the ground, right? But you don't see this block. But you have to set up the things here in this box. All right? And now let's start with maybe let's start with the graph. Now this is the question. This is the question, okay? This is the graph. So now look at it. The graph basically it contains the point C. This is the point C. It's movable. Right? So that is the part, the ordinary one. And there is another point. Actually, it's not a point. It's a list of points. Okay. So can you see here?
Yes.
So the name is A list, B list. All right. But actually, its symbol. So this symbol is not a single point. It's not a single value. It is a list. Right? I tell you where the list comes from. Okay. So altogether, that means this is a list of points. That's the black points you see you have on the screen. Okay. So that's the list of points that you create later on. Right? So each of this label represents a list. Understand? Right? But not because of the name. Okay. The name you can call anything you like, right? But it is defined as a list anyway. Now, so you don't see this point now because it's not available, right? It is only it exists, so you can get it only when you start working on the task. Similarly, you have another point just to label the last point you captured. Okay, so you can also see this one, but it's not directly shown yet. It's not available yet. These two actually mark the segment. Right? But last time I showed you already a simpler one, just type polygon. Polygon AC, that you have the line segment, okay? So you don't have to use this method now. All right, then, so why you see the points there? Because when you click the capture button, that is the code, okay? You will, so when you click the button, it's called action button. So when you click it, they will do something according to your command, okay? So that is the capture command. You will capture the x coordinate. Capture the point A, and then label it as x coordinate. Okay. So you can capture the point. Oh, sorry, this is the other way around. I think it's the other way around. X coordinate of the point that now you are having, and then store it in the number A and B. Okay. Am I right? Sorry, I cannot figure out which one comes first, perhaps. Right? A first. A and B are already defined in the graph. Okay, and then you store it in the new variables, x coordinate, y coordinate. And history graph is just the graph that I named below. Okay, that is the graph I named below. Okay, so here is the graph. So this one. If you click on this, then you can see more. Okay. So you can see the number list. I call it A list. Okay. This is the number list will be generated by all the things you captured in the action button. Okay. So because in the capture button there, just the button above. Okay. It contains. It is the code they use. It's called history. That means that all the points they call x coordinate and y coordinates are put together in one list. Okay. And individually, also the last value, that means the more recent one that you create, also captured there, will be put into the point AB. Okay? So that is the latest point that you will see on the graph. Okay? So there's two values. So that's all. This is the code. Now this is not created by me. I just copied it from some example I know. And then I modify it. Okay? So that means I can show you. So I just duplicate the slide and then change what I want to change, okay? Right? Particularly the graph in here. But don't forget that you have to rename the, okay, I think something like this. You have to rename the components and also modify the code inside according to the name you change. All right? Otherwise, it will not work. Okay? I think you know how to do it this way. And so the following slides are basically the same thing. I just change the graph. I just create similar question in this way, and then just modify the code. Understand? That is how it works. Right? But of course, at the same time, you can think about it. What kind of question can you ask? Okay? So I tried some different kind of questions that I can think of that they can make use of this particular code, which I think is useful. Okay, so that's all for the demonstration here, all right? Okay, so.
Thank you, sir.